Welcome to the California Maverick, a channel fighting for a free and sane California. Gavin Newsom and California Democrats are masters of distraction. They point fingers at DC and cry about threats to democracy and a constitutional crisis, while they're quietly and secretly building the most expensive government building in the country with California tax dollars. Let's talk about the $1.5 billion Capitol Annex Project. We got a lot to get into. For months, Democrats have used the president's East Wing ballroom as a form of justification for their Prop 50 special election that is costing the taxpayers $300 million. But like time and again, the narrative gets debunked as usual, and we've been right all along that the White House project is privately funded. And the White House recently came out with a private donor list, so there's no tax money involved.
Are being cut.
So first off, I want to say we're in this crisis because of the federal administration. And this election is going to cost as much as a new ballroom that President Trump wants to build at the White House.
And so once that came out, suddenly overnight, the narrative shifted to the largest quid pro quo in United States history.
Any executive authority. And more likely, this is part of what Donald Trump has been doing since day one of his presidency, running the largest pay-to-play scheme in the history of the country, and probably soliciting donations from people who've got business before the United States government. And all of this is going to have to be investigated. It will. All of this will have to be uncovered. It will. And these people are going to be held accountable, no matter how long it takes. That's going to be the reality of the situation. And that's our warning to all of these people participating in this scheming to manipulate taxpayer dollars and, of course, to destroy the people's house. The White House belongs to the American people. It doesn't belong to Donald Trump.
And that's what these California Democrats and Democrats in general do. That's their playbook. When they're wrong, and they usually are, and their statements and narratives age like milk, they move the goalposts. Meanwhile, in California, taxpayers are funding something way worse that is using taxpayer dollars.
Why will a new office building for California lawmakers cost as much as an NFL stadium? That's a question we've been asking California's legislative leaders overseeing the Capitol Annex Project. Live Copter 3 flew over, getting this exclusive look at the progress crews have made. The $1.1 billion project is supposed to cover costs for the office building, parking garage, and a new visitor center.
But it will also include private hallways for lawmakers that allow them to avoid the public and avoid us, the media. Area 3 Capitol correspondent Ashley Zavala has been digging into this plan and has an update.
This new office building in Sacramento is going to be one of the most expensive buildings in the United States. And yes, California taxpayers are footing the bill. Even though the lawsuits against it have been over, the California legislature, which is in charge of it, continues to keep details in the dark. Steel beams are up and construction is underway on the Capitol Annex Project. The $1.1 billion construction and counting will eventually house the offices of lawmakers, the governor, and lieutenant governor. It'll cost about as much as Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara and more than the Golden One Center in Sacramento. But we still don't know why or how the money is being spent.
Hey, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. It helps me out a lot and I will greatly appreciate it. Now on to the video. You would think if the government was going to spend hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars, they would consult with their voter base and constituency. But per usual, Sacramento doesn't feel like they need to do that. And if you think that's bad, it gets worse. Over 2,000 non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, were signed by contractors, state officials, and state politicians just to be a part of the project. Politicians aren't even legally allowed to sign these NDAs on projects funded by the public, but they did it anyway because they don't care. There were 2 resolutions proposed in the legislature to prevent NDAs from being signed by politicians, but those 2 resolutions were struck down. There have also been multiple requests for contracts, change orders, financial documentation, but those have been ignored or turned down, violating California's own Public Records Act.
The Joint Rules Committee leading the project has violated the Legislative Open Records Act, refusing to acknowledge or respond to Case Area 3's latest request for its contracts with Turner Construction. The Records Act requires them to respond within 4 business days. It's been 29 since our request.
The Legislative Open Records Act actually specifies that it is a fundamental and necessary right for the public to have access to legislative documents.
Adjunct McGeorge School of Law professor Chris McKaylee is also a lobbyist and longtime Capitol observer.
And again, disclosure of the taxpayer dollars that are being expended on this project certainly are appropriate for public disclosure. But I think one of the points that is being lost here is that this is the people's house.
So no one knows when this project is going to be done, how much it costs, or who's even getting paid. They've also been bringing in Italian cut stone and marble being shipped to and from the United States and Italy. And their justification is saying that it's cheaper than getting it done here in the United States. Why do you even need Italian cut marble and stone for an office building?
Nearly 2 months after submitting that request with no response, Joint Rules said they did not have an estimate. We also asked, with those security measures in place, what specific spaces will journalists have to work and access lawmakers? Joint Rules responded by basically saying the public's interest is better served if it doesn't have that information.
So this project is less transparent than some of the top secret military projects I worked on.
Dick Cowan served on the Historic State Capitol Commission before becoming a vocal opponent of the Annex Project.
Doesn't our Constitution say something about not abridging the right of a free press? I would think they would be eager to share with you in the COVID era, in the terrorist threat era. Here's how we've balanced the needs of the press to have access to the government with these new factors.
What's crazy to me, only KCRA Sacramento has covered this story seriously. I've looked everywhere. CBS, NBC, Fox, nothing. Silence. And when people started asking questions a few years ago and filed lawsuits by the First Amendment Coalition and the Historic State Capitol Commission, the Joint Sessions Committee removed the Visitor Center. However, they still kept the $1.5 million budget. And to top it off, they even added secret rooms and underground tunnels while cutting public access to the building that's supposed to belong to the people of California. And isn't that the definition of hypocrisy? Weren't these same people saying that the White House is the people's house? But yet when it comes to the people's house in California, the rules don't apply. Only for Democrats, right?
The main way we're able to get information lately is through leaks. The latest, the new building will have private hallways for lawmakers, allowing them to avoid the public and media after they debate and vote in hearing rooms. Multiple sources told KCRA3 the leader of the state Senate, Mike McGuire, confirmed this to a room full of lobbyists earlier this month. He would not do an interview, but confirmed this in a statement.
I think this is the height of hypocrisy. You are using taxpayer dollars to build a taxpayer-funded facility, and yet you are going to design it in a way that shields you from the public, and shields you from accountability.
And when the defender of democracy and the fighter of fascism, Gavin Newsom, is asked about the project, what does he do? He does what he always does. He lies, he deflects, he distracts. He uses the same excuses that he used during the Malibu, Palisades, and LA fires when he was asked about the reservoirs and the lack of forest management. It's up to local authorities. It's up to the cities. It's up to the counties. It's not my branch of government.
Is that appropriate, though? I mean, truly, for the public to not know how much that building costs?
That's what I said. You should get that information. I agree it's inappropriate. By the way, I didn't know they were not talking to you. I apologize that members of the legislature are not talking to you. They're on recess. I'll check in with them. Let me know. I'm happy to help you try to get access to members of the California legislature with respect, not my branch of government, but I'm happy because as a taxpayer, I'd like to know as well.
But here's where he gets caught in his lie, per usual. Now you can choose to accept it or ignore it. One of his own administration officials, his own chief administrator, Muriel Salva de la O, signed an NDA that's tied to this project. And de la O gets monthly annex briefings.
California's legislature is leading the project, but Governor Newsom's office has been more involved in it than he let on. Documents from 2018 show when the project was established, they also created a 3-member executive committee that's expected to meet regularly and make final decisions on the project. On it, Assemblymember Blanca Pacheco, State Senator John Laird, and the Director of Operations for Governor Gavin Newsom, Miroslava de la O. Documents provided through a Legislative Open Records Act request show de la O recently signed a non-disclosure agreement like Pacheco and Laird.
So what is it, Governor? Either you're incompetent because you're clueless and you don't know how to manage, or your staff doesn't respect you, you're lying, which is what you usually do anyway, or the NDA overrides the governor, the executive of the state. Any way you put it, it's bad and it's unacceptable, and we should not stand for it, regardless of how you feel about the current presidential administration. The whataboutisms don't apply here, and we'll keep politics out of this for a moment. If this was a CEO or a president of a university, it would be all over the news. It would be an uproar. He would be asked to resign. People will lose their jobs, but not if you're a Democrat, not if you're a politician, especially here in California.
Gosh, what is going on over here now again?
It's the question those walking by the state capitol have been wondering for years.
Very mysterious, yeah. It's an 8-foot barrier. I can't even see what's in there.
And that's because they're not meant to see or really know anything about what will someday be a new office building for lawmakers and the governor.
Every consultant, every employee working on the project was required to sign this non-disclosure agreement.
Dick Cowan is the former chairman of the Historic State Capitol Commission. He resigned and joined a group that sued the state over the project, partly because access to information about it is nearly impossible.
Is it normal to have a non-disclosure agreement so broadly blanketing a project like this?
Absolutely not normal. The project would be planned, designed, and constructed with no sharing of information to the public.
In the dark.
In the dark is a good way to say it.
Among the 2,093 people who signed the NDAs, 5 state lawmakers, 2 people in the governor's office, and 89 other state employees. 3 of those lawmakers are still in office, including the leaders of the Joint Rules Committee overseeing the project.
Why is there an NDA that has basically blanketed this whole project?
Longtime Capitol observer and McGeorge School of Law professor Chris McCaley said, if lawmakers wanted to protect security and other sensitive information, they could have specifically spelled that out in the agreement, but they did not.
This broad, sweeping non-disclosure doesn't really make much sense to me at this stage.
We're not talking national security. We're not talking nuclear codes. We're not talking, orders to troops in wartime.
David Loy is the legal director for the First Amendment Coalition.
This is public money on a public building. This is exactly the kind of thing the public has a right to know.
I don't remember signing it, but nothing seems odd to me.
Do you have any sense of who wanted them?
My sense is that Mr. Cooley, the former chairman of the Joint Rules Committee, wanted them.
Mr. Cooley, also known as former Assemblyman Ken Cooley, led and was the face of the project from 2017 until 2022. He also signed the NDA. Under his watch, and with the NDAs in place, the estimated price tag for the project ballooned from $440 million to $1.2 billion. Last week, we told you project leaders refused to prove the millions they secretly spent on Italian stonework was the cheapest way to go. This week, we approached California Department of Justice attorneys who have been defending the legislature and the project in court. They did not want to talk.
So you can't talk to us at all about this project, even though...
Not the two of us. Thank you.
Is it because you signed non-disclosure agreements?
You're reading way too much into it. We are counsel of record.
We reached out to former Governor Jerry Brown, who was the governor when the NDAs were established. A spokesman for him told us he had no recollection and was not aware of any direct involvement in this. We also reached out to Governor Newsom's office for just reaction to this story, and they referred us to the Joint Rules Committee, which is overseeing and leading this project. Those discussions this year mainly revolved around public policy, around proposals to prohibit them in the lawmaking process. Both of those bills that lawmakers attempted to propose were killed by Democratic legislative leaders. Now, talking to some involved in that effort to ban their use, they said they were shocked that they would ever be in place for such a public project like this one, like the Capitol Annex, especially because during the debate on those proposals, we had heard over and over again that lawmakers can't sign NDAs. Clearly, we have the documents to show that that is not the case.
And the corruption and the hubris of these people goes further because the Capitol Annex was made exempt from all state environmental regulations that these very same people implement. The same rules that stop people from building decks or adding windows to their home. The rules for thee, but not for me. The Democrat modus operandi. They spend your money however they want, whenever they want, and if you ask questions, they'll just project, deflect, or they'll build secret tunnels and rooms in their building so they can just avoid the media entirely.
It has been at least 3 years since they provided the last cost estimate of about $1.1 billion. And even then, that figure makes it one of the most expensive buildings in the United States. Here's a look at what the construction looks like so far. The structure looks like it's pretty much set. The Joint Rules Committee earlier this spring told us they would provide a public update on the project at some point this year. That never happened. Lawmakers wrapped up their work for the year and left Sacramento last month. The chair of the Joint Rules Committee, the leader of it, Assemblymember Blanca Pacheco, would not comment when I asked her about that situation. Since June, I have been requesting contracts, change orders, financial statements, and other documents to get a sense of what costs look like.
You would think that if the project were on budget and on time, they would be bragging about it. But the fact that they have not come forward to describe what the full cost of the project is should be a warning flag to everyone in California, particularly those of us who are taxpayers who have to pay for this.
I'm disappointed to hear that they aren't ready. Certainly they have the information somewhere.
And here's the problem with California. There's a large portion of people here split into two categories. The ones who just don't give a damn. They're more worried about the Lakers and Warriors or the Dodgers in the World Series. And the other is the group that is so brainwashed and propagandized by partisanship politics. All they need to hear is, "Ma Trump, ma threat to democracy, ma fascism." And the Democrats know they can get away with literally anything, including stealing your own money. Just blame Republicans, even though the state is a Democrat supermajority, and it's going to get worse after Prop 50. This isn't about left or right. This is about accountability, and I'm constantly hammering this in almost every one of my videos. It's about the $24 billion that was supposed to solve homelessness that's gone missing. It's about the tens of billions, possibly $100 billion for the high-speed rail that no one's gonna ride to nowhere. It's about the $100 million missing from the fire aid money. It's about the $12 billion for illegal immigrant health care. It's about the $3 billion missing from the cap and trade program, which increases our gas prices. It's about the 2,000 NDAs signed for this $1.5 billion vanity project. This is not democracy. This is corruption, and they're hiding it. And in some cases, they're doing it right in front of you, and all they have to do is distract you by mentioning Trump. The Capitol Annex is everything wrong with California. Secrecy, arrogance, hypocrisy, and I don't know what it's gonna take to change. And maybe you should ask yourself,
Hans, are we the baddies?
If you like this video, leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.